Hey everyone, welcome to Cinema Safari. Today we are talking about the Super Mario Galaxy movie. The Super Mario Galaxy movie, we see the return of Chris Pratt and Charlie Day voicing Mario and Luigi, respectively, along with a bunch of returning characters from the previous film, as well as some new characters as well from not just Mario, but also some from the wider Nintendo universe. So, big film, a lot happening in the film, a lot to talk about, and let's get right into it. So, join us for Super Mario Galaxy. So the Super Mario Galaxy movie was directed by Aaron Horvath and Michael Jelenic. We see Chris Pratt, Charlie Day returning as Mario and Luigi, along with Anya Taylor-Joy as Princess Peach. Jack Black returns as Bowser. Keegan-Michael Key returns as Toad. And some of the new cast, we have Benny Safdie as Bowser Jr., Donald Glover voices Yoshi, Glenn Powell as Fox McCloud from the Star Fox series by Nintendo, along with Brie Larson as Princess Rosalina, along with some other cameos and some other characters from both Mario and the Nintendo universes that might have like minor speaking parts in the film, or some cameos that are non-speaking that I will not spoil for those who have not seen the movie. Um, so it is very closely a lot of the movie. It's not just a sequel to the last movie. It's also an adaptation of the Super Mario Galaxy video games that came out in like the late 2000s, 2010, um, around there. So in that aspect, it does. A lot of people before it was coming out were saying that they were hearing that it was going to be a lot closer feel to the video games than the first movie. After having seen it, it's definitely a lot of parts in the film that definitely are felt like they're coming from the video game. So a lot of those aspects were definitely fun to see in the movie, incorporated into the story. It definitely did have that feel throughout a lot of the movie as being closer to some of the games, rather than the first movie. Um, Definitely pros and cons for the film. It had the animation. I like it was definitely really good animation. Definitely a step up from the previous film. It's a bigger film, it's exploring the galaxy. It's definitely, we knew it was going to be a bigger film, both story wise and just how they were going to present it. So, and they definitely succeeded with that, with showing these different worlds, adding all the elements they did. So the animation definitely on point. Definitely a great job by the whole entire animation team that worked on the film. Definitely a very big part of the film. So the Super Mario movie was estimated to top its predecessor in opening weekend. It made 34 million on its opening day. It was released on a Wednesday, so 34 million against the first film, which made 31.7 million. So it did top its predecessor in its opening day, and that one was also released on a Wednesday. So it didn't really, it was released on the same day of the week, so it didn't really have anything against it for that. So it is estimated to gross a worldwide total of around 350 million in its opening weekend. So there was a lot in the film. Like I talked about, the animation was a big part of the film. I think that was, part of what was going to either make or break the film, along with some other aspects. But they definitely succeeded with the animation. A lot of it looked great, great colors, great everything. Um, very distinctive aspects for each area that was visited in the film. They felt different. They looked great on the big screen. So that's definitely a highlight for the film. The film, there's the story wise, there is a lot going on in the film. A lot was added into the film, which is a positive and negative. It did at times feel chaotic and kind of overstuffed because they did add so much into the film, story wise. So that kind of made it feel like too much was going on when you were watching it at times. But it was a very fun film. The addition of some of the new characters, especially joining with some of the characters from the previous film, a lot of fun. Yoshi, who my favorite from Mario, definitely a fun part of the film. Definitely a very cute character. So I was very excited to see Yoshi, and I don't think he disappointed at all. I definitely enjoyed seeing Yoshi on the screen. Glenn Powell as Fox McCloud was also really cool. I did hear that he actually pitched a Star Fox movie to the studio a few years ago before he auditioned or was given the part in this film as Fox McCloud. So that's kind of interesting. That was interesting to read about and hear about, and he did get the role. So it'll be interesting to see if they are planning to expand like this Nintendo movie universe, and maybe he will get like a spin-off solo movie down the line, which would be interesting to see. But yeah, he was definitely a cool character. I really liked him. He definitely added a lot of fun to the movie. Kind of felt like in some ways like a Han Solo-esque character, which was interesting and fun to watch. So those were some of the new characters that definitely added a lot of fun to the movie and definitely were fun to watch. I will say a lot of the new characters and even some of the older characters, like Mario and Peach, they definitely had some character development, probably more than a lot of the other characters. Bowser had an interesting arc. I won't get into it too much to spoil anything, but a lot of the new characters, like Bowser Jr., Rosalina, especially along with some others, they didn't really get too much character development in the film. Yoshi, we did when they first Mario and Luigi first meet Yoshi. We do see like how Yoshi ended up where he ended up. So we do see how he ended up there and how he kind of got into this world and ended up ultimately meeting them. So we got a little of that, but still not too much. But yeah, a lot of the other new characters, we didn't really get too much development from them or anything like that. So that was definitely something that could have been written a little more in depth to kind of like, help us connect more with some of those newer characters. Especially for Bowser Jr., a lot of the story is him just trying to reconnect with his dad. So, which is, fine. Nothing wrong with that. But, like, it just didn't really have any depth to it, I don't think. It just didn't feel, like, authentic in a lot of time when he was on screen. So, I don't know. Maybe if it could have just been written a little. I don't know, like how it could have been done differently to kind of make him more interesting. But to me, like Bowser Jr. wasn't too interesting of a character. When you look at the bigger picture and some other characters. So that's a lot of the film. Also in the film, there wasn't too much like emotional depth. They did try to make a lot of the film, or they did try to like have some drama in the film. Try to have some emotion based on certain things that happen in the story, which wasn't necessarily there. I mean, it is, I guess, a movie geared towards, well, not just kids. It is like a family type movie. Anyone can watch it, but that might also add to why certain things were written certain ways. But overall, definitely a fun movie, good watch. Comparing the two movies, I will say I did overall think that the first movie was the better movie out of the two. Not to say that this one wasn't good. It had its ups and downs, definitely, but it was definitely entertaining. It looks great. A lot of the characters, even though certain ones don't really have great development. Still a lot of great characters, great voice cast. So there's still a lot going for the film, I think. And I think that they are definitely, especially with the post-credit scene, the second one especially, because there's two, definitely setting up for a big future down the line. I know Jack Black recently, he announced in an interview that there's going to be a third film in 2029. I don't know if that's completely true. I know there most likely there will be a third film, but I don't know if it'll be coming out in 2029 or anything like that. But they're definitely setting up for future films, and I think that based on the success of the first film and the success that this one will ultimately most likely have, they will definitely continue making these films, and hopefully they will expand the universe to include some other Nintendo films, because having Fox McCloud in this film and play like a bigger part in the film than I thought he was going to play before I saw the film. I thought he was just going to have like a small cameo, but he actually played like a significant part in the film, which was cool. So stuff like that, and then maybe having some spin-off films, creating a larger universe with connecting the films for this Nintendo universe. If they do go that route, that'd be pretty interesting, and I would be excited to see that. So with that, we are going to wrap up today's episode. So Super Mario Galaxy definitely has its pros and cons. Wasn't as good as I'd probably give it like a 7 out of 10, maybe a 6.5. The first film I thought overall just was the stronger movie. Um, and I think part of it was they didn't try to do too much with it. I think with this movie, it did have its good moments. It definitely has its good qualities. Definitely worth the watch. But it did, a lot of the negatives I think do come from like the story and the writing. Not necessarily the writing, but just the story and the plot. Just being like they put too much in the film, trying to do too much with the film to, you know, expand to go kind of like the Amazing Spider-Man 2, how they introduced like the Sinister Six, and we're trying to do a lot with that film to really launch a Spider-Man universe at that time before he joined the MCU, and that kind of hurt that film. So I think it was kind of a similar thing with this film, trying to just do too much in a lot of like the story to try to launch a bigger universe that maybe they're trying to do with future movies, and create a bigger like movie universe. But definitely, it's definitely worth the watch. Definitely entertaining. Definitely had a lot of laughs with it. So it's definitely give it a shot. Both if you are familiar with games, even if you're not familiar with the games, it's still something that I would recommend to give a watch. It definitely does have its good moments in it, so I think there's definitely a lot to enjoy. It's not a serious film, so it definitely has a lot of fun stuff in it. So it's definitely a film that I think um, is it's the kind of film to just watch, to have a good time. You know what I mean? So, and it succeeds in that. So, I'd like to hear what you think. If you've seen it yet, comment on today's episode. We're on social media if you're not following us already. If you are, great. Thank you for your support, and I hope you enjoyed today's episode. As always, thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting the podcast, and we will see you next time.